What is this? We just descended into chaos. That's a great drum. Die-cast hoops, top and bottom, and it's got a really nice birch shell. I think this is just a good drum. Yeah, hello. Today we are looking at a beautiful big boy of a drum. This is a 14 by 8 inch depth Tama Superstar. These are pretty hard to find information on, but I think it's a 6-ply birch shell made in Japan. And this would be like late 70s, probably early 80s if I had to guess. Early 80s on this drum. Wonderful drum too, beautiful. And this example is in really good shape. 14 by 8 is really kind of like the accepted largest depth snare drum. Nah, you're gonna have some outliers. There are some people who play like Pearl made a 13 by 9 snare at one point, and then some guys will play like 14 by 10 inch Ludwig and Slingerland marching snare drums from the 60s and 70s. But when it comes down to like regular players, they're generally using at the deepest a 14 by 8 inch drum. I've owned plenty in the past. One of them that I owned previously was a Chinese made 14 by 8 Artwood Maple, and that was a good drum. I like that drum a lot. I used it for many years, but this drum, I don't know that I've ever heard a 14 by 8 that sounds quite like this. This is a really impressive drum. What is this? We just descended into chaos. Get back to the real story here. That's a great drum. I mean, tuned super low, and yet the overtones, there's no dampening on this drum. And the drum does have die-cast hoops, top and bottom, which might help a little bit. And it's got a really nice birch shell. I think this is just a good drum. At a low pitch, there's not a ton of unpleasant overtones. There's a beautiful body to the drum. And like I said in that performance clip, I am a blues man, and this is this is truly a blues drum. It excels with that type of music. I cranked that drum up for the clip right there. I mean, this thing was high as a kite, and it sounded killer at that pitch. Vintage Ambassador head on the top, not the new one, a real vintage Remo Ambassador. On the bottom here, we've got another Vintage Ambassador snare side, and what looks to be the original wires here too. So old heads, old wires, old drums, and it still sounds great, and it sounds like a modern drum there. And whether it's at that high pitch, or if you want to tune it down too, it is going to be rocking. Now, to me, that clip sounded a lot like bands like Mastodon or Baroness. And I love those bands and the tones that they get on their records, particularly Baroness, because it seems like even from song to song, especially on the earlier records, they were really changing snare drums and room sounds and drum sounds and really into finding drums that matched the mood of whatever song they were working on. This is one of those drums that if you put it in a studio, you'd be able to use it on 1,000 different applications because of just how versatile it sounds, whether you tune it up or tune it down. So you've heard it now at the super high end of the pitch range here. You've heard it at the super low end of the pitch range here. What happens in the middle? Now, to me, that's like super sludgy, almost like doom metal. And man, that snare drum is rocking in there. Overall, the drums sound huge too. And there's one little trick that you can do to make, I'm in a basement right here, and I can make this room sound gigantic. I use my room mic. I talk about my room mic all the time because it is such a huge part of my sound. It's like 35-ish feet back from the kit. I'm at the one far end of the house. The room mic's at the other far end of the house, and it's a ribbon microphone. A ribbon microphone picks up whatever's in front of it, and whatever's behind it, it doesn't pick up the stuff on the sides. So I can use that to my advantage. Instead of having that mic way out there pointed at the drum kit, I point it this way. And so it's picking up whatever's coming off the walls, and it's not picking up the direct signal of the drum set. It picks up more ambience than it does transients, more of that room than it does of the drum hits. So it's perfect as is to make me sound like I'm in a giant recording studio. But to take it even further if you're playing something like doom metal or sludge, generally the drums, you want to make them sound as big as possible. So I just took the little room mic signal in the DAW in Logic, I dragged it back in the grid just a little bit. And by doing that, I forget what it is. It's like every millisecond you pull it back, you get another 10 feet of distance sound-wise. Whatever it is, I just kind of find the happy medium so that it sounds perfect within that mix. And there you go. What a killer sound. Another secret I like to talk about are all the different dampening techniques I'll use for drums. If I need a little bit of dampening, I can use this Snare Weight M1 in this special edition color that you can only get from Joe Cox Drums. If I want more dampening, I'll use this Rootsy Q ring right here, which is awesome. I love them on the toms. I use them on all my toms all the time because not only do they focus the note, but these rings also seem to dampen some of the high end and bring out more of the mids and the low end, which is exactly what I'm trying to get from my toms. Rootsy Q also makes a product that's like a full tea towel thing, like the Ringo Starr sort of Beatles sound. And this is really nice for funk and that sort of thing, or if you're trying to play out live in a really, really quiet sort of bar type of setting. And then the last example I have here is literally an animal pelt with the fur still on it. And what's interesting, this is from Bovid Percussion up in Canada. This is a really great product too. And what's cool about that product is that not only does it do the dampening, but it brings the pitch down of the drum a little bit, kind of like a big fat snare drum. Love their products too. So having this variety of implements around to dampen your drums or change the pitch, just change the sound without having to tune the drum at all. It's so great because you can have one snare drum and you could have lost your drum key, which happens to me all the time. And then you're able to just put these different dampening tools on and you have a whole different sound in just a half a second of just throwing that little puppy on the drum. So check out now what happens when I put one of those Rootsy Q rings on this giant Tama snare drum. Sounds good to me. Just another tone you can get out of this one super versatile drum. Gotta dig that. And I don't just dig this snare drum. I dig all the gear I've got around here. I've got the Yamaha Recording Custom Set, 22, 12, 13, 16, Evans heads all around. And then on the cymbals here, we have Turkish Cymbals from Turkish Cymbals USA, who was kind enough to borrow us this drum today to try out. We have their 15-inch Millennium hi-hats, 20-inch Meta Crash, 22 22-inch Millennium Ride and 24-inch prototype dark dry wobbly boy here on the right. Wonderful stuff, folks. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you got something good out of this video. Do you have questions? Shoot them in the comments. Do you have comments? Put them in the comments. I'll try to get back to you, good, bad, or anything in between. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you liked, and if you can text this to one of your buddies who might get a kick out of this too, I'd seriously appreciate it. All right, we'll catch you next time.